morning. I'm a little bit hungover and I really need to start working on my Bertha Russell dress. So let's online fabric shop together. And I'm going to give you some of my tips and tricks on how to start a project when you I have the image is here. How do I do? So let me show you my tips on just starting a project, where to go to, all online based. Okay, so we are doing my peacock dress here. So one of the first things that I always do is I build a mood board on Pinterest. It helps me keep all of my images together that I found online and easily accessible. So I have most of the images that I found just online of the peacock dress, but I am going to go and take screenshots. That's probably going to be the next video of the actual scene in season 1, so we can get a lot more angles. But for right now, I'm going to download all of these images that pertain to the dress that I have, and then I'm going to throw it up in Photoshop, and I'm going to make like one big mood poster. You'll see that in a second. But so now I have my images, I've got them downloaded, I'm making my mood poster with all of the stuff that I need to know to research. Now, I typically go to here. Now, this is a very complicated dress. It's 1880s, it's got weird looks to it, it's got this, all this stuff. And honestly, off the top of my head, I have no idea how much fabric this is. I really don't. So I need to do a lot of research because this is the first time I've ever made a truly historical 1880s bustle gown. I've done 1890s before, and that doesn't really consider a bustle, but this one does. So we're going to go look up, and one of my favorite places to look it up is actually going to pattern websites, and specifically Simplicity and McCall's, even though they're owned by the same company now, which is why they're now registering both the same. I can just close out. Boop, this one. I am looking because they have listed on all of their costume patterns how much fabric you will need. And this is a really good place to start to try to figure it out. Now, necessarily, I'm not probably going to find, and if I do, I'm just going to buy the pattern, exactly the look of Bertha's gown in here. But it'll definitely give me a ballpark because the majority of these big pattern companies, and some smaller ones too, will have a good amount of looks of each decade in here, and you can this one's kind of close. 1888, that's actually very, very close to, I believe this is like 1884 is Bertha's dress, so this is actually really close. So I'm going to jump in here and see how much fabric Bertha style pattern requires for this look. Let's see. Before we go even further, I do want to start to tell you all how I break these things down even more before we start fabric shopping. So here's my little image mood board that I made on Canva because Photoshop was being not so nice. So over here, I have it broken down into fabric, trim, underpinnings, and hat, which I believe is pretty much all that I need to make. Purse aside, that will be a last minute thing if I get a chance to it. So I want to show you all that this is important. Write all of the stuff out that you need, that all of the dress components are for these cosplays. And then from here, you will plug in how much you need of everything else. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now that I have this beautiful thing made. Boop, boop, boop. The best part now is that this entire episode, well, the charity bazaar part is on YouTube. So now I can go in and screenshot the dress, hopefully get a little bit better angles of it in full, full look right here. So just an FYI, if you guys ever have tried to screenshot from the actual web page or anything else from like HBO Max or Disney Plus or Netflix, it will not let you screenshot. Watch that. See how it's like a little black box now? So I have to do it the old-fashioned way and just take pictures of the screen. Bummer. Okay, so I finally have my 4-page Bertha research document laid out with the good pictures of quality of seam lines and look, as well as my screenshots from YouTube that are going to help me with laying out all of the folds and the lines of the dress. And over here, I finalized my buy list, what this dress is made of, and how I'm going to break it down. So for this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you all this, and then next video we will purchase said thing. So for the fabric, we have the main teal satin fabric for the outside. We have a teal organza that will be this front all the way, this big front deep V right there. We also have a darker teal satin, which is it's hard to see, but it's right there, which is the lining of the bustle overskirt and also the front skirt. So we have that as well. All of the trim will be, what I mean by trim is just like the embroidered pieces. I'm categorizing it right now, but all these are going to be handmade embroidered peacock feathers. We'll figure out later. Next thing I really want to do, which I'll probably do first, is the underpinnings. I found out by more research on this freaking dress that there's no corset under here. Reason is because this organza deep V goes like all the way down, and you would be able to see straight through this front top unless they did some kind of CGI magic to Bertha. I can't, it's really difficult to see if she is wearing anything underneath the sheer organza piece in the front. So I'm at a loss here, and it really stinks because I'm very used to wearing corsets underneath all of my work. So we're just gonna chuck this full of boning and see where it goes, because that ain't historically accurate, but who cares? We are in fantasy land today. So no corset. There will be a petticoat and a bustle to help with the weight of the overskirt. The hat will probably be one of the last things I do. I figured this is going to be a bought hat base right here. And then you have this weird sculptural form over top of it that I'm going to use XX fabric and just stuff it. And then a whole bunch of peacock feathers. I'm definitely going to locally source and ethically source those 100%. Last thing is the jewelry, gloves, and purse. I will most likely purchase. However, this purse would be really fun to make. Isn't that just cute? I don't know if we have the time. Last thing will be the wig, and that will be a purchase wig. I'm not making a wig for Bertha here. I'll probably look at Wigus Fashion or Arda. So that's where we're at. The next thing I'm going to do, which will be the next video, is buying some fabric. And I've already got it picked out right here at Mood Fabrics. Here we go. Bertha Russell. Hey there. It's time for some updates on my Bertha Russell build from the Gilded Age. I've made some decisions. Take a look. First thing I want to show you is my beautiful PDF that I made from my research on Pinterest of the dress that we're going to make. This is so helpful when you are creating cosplays, is to make a big old research PDF of mood board looks, screenshots. These are from the actual episode. The best photo of the dress that I could find, especially color-wise. Awesome. So we've got this, and I've bought a few things, so let me show you. First up, I had to get some patterns, and I did use Truly Victorian. I'm not a huge fan of Truly Victorian, but the patterns that I got are just too good for this dress, and I don't want to spend endless hours patterning things myself. So I ended up getting a bodice 1885 pattern that I will be, of course, cutting up and doing some different things. Same with the summer overskirt pattern, but these are very close to the look of Bertha's gown. I got lobster claw bustle, if you know, you know, and then bustle wire for that as well. We also got swatches for Mood. So these are going to be coming in soon, so we can take a look at the swatches and play around and choose something for Bertha's gown. I also figured out a breakdown list for Bertha's gown of everything that I need and yardage. Perfect. I'm so pumped to start on this outfit. Guess what came in today, y'all? Yeah! We have swatches, we have patterns, let's get into them. First, let's talk my swatches. These are all from Mood Fabrics, except one that I actually had in my stock. So this is the one that I had in my stock that I realized is a little too light blue. Even up against my skin, and it's a little too... No, it's not the one I want. But we did have the winners from Mood. Here are our winners. So this is the main fabric for the peacock dress for Bertha. It's a great color. I think it's going to work out. It's a little more green on my end than what you're seeing right now. So this is going to be the main fabric in the overskirt. This is going to be the underskirt and the lining of the bustle. And this is the organza that splits down that V in the front. And here are our patterns. We have the lobster tail bustle. We have the overskirt and the bodice that I will rework, but we got them in. Let's start on Bertha.
Oh my gosh, it's voiceover Amanda. She's back for another Bertha Russell making of. Yeah, so I hope you guys kind of like this setup for the new types of videos that I'm going to be doing. I just find myself not being able to do so many different formats when it comes to video recording for YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, so we're slamming it all into one. Just like if any cosplay build, I start from the inside out. So we are working on the lobster tail for Bertha right here. And I'm using my trusty Burnett serger that I absolutely love. And I'm actually using old Daenerys fabric for this. It was a minimal stretch, super thick fabric that I got from Joann's years ago that I've made my current Daenerys dress from, and it ended up working out great. I just followed the instructions from the truly Victorian pattern that I bought in the earlier videos. Nothing different and special. I just wanted it a white petticoat to go under several different costumes that I'll probably be making in the future, and white was the good choice. But here is one thing, absolutely, if you decide to make this undergarment, this lobster tail, please get the boning that is already pre-cut and tipped for this. It saves you so much time. It's just an extra add-on that you can do in the shop when you are checking out for your patterns, and it was so much easier to have this already done, and all I had to do was just put it in through the channels and sew up the edges. It was a godsend. I really love that they have that option in that shop. It was a great addition, but it ended up turning out quite well, and it really did look like a lobster tail. Like I thought they were just having fun with it, but nope.
Here it is. It's so big on my backside. It'll work just fine.
Next thing I proceeded to make was just a simple petticoat, and this is something I do with a lot of my dresses that I have some strange undergarments on underneath, is to have that petticoat separation between that and your final costume. And this is just something I do that's super easy. I drape fabric around my dress form, and I pleat and gather in sections that need to be pleated and gathered in. I use no pattern, no math, no nothing. I just drape it and go with it. So if you have a large amount of fabric, and you can just pin it around the waist of your dress form and remember where those pins are, take it off and sew them down, you have a petticoat, a really simple, easy petticoat. And then once you have that measurement, you can cut off the excess on the grain and sew it up. And I think I used a ribbon actually as my waistband for this, so it's just tied in the back, nothing too fancy. I think this took me one full evening. Not too bad, right? And I kind of thought this was funny because this fabric I've had in my stash for absolutely years. I made an aerial gown out of this fabric in like 2014 maybe was the last time I used this fabric, and I just don't do a whole lot of blue. And so when I was like, oh, I'm doing Bertha, I have the perfect fabric for this undercoat, this petticoat, excuse me. Here I'm using my new Burnett B37. I am now a Burnett affiliate, so if you're interested in shopping some Burnett machines and want to use a code of mine, please check out the description of this video. I will have exactly where you need and where to go find yourself a good Burnett. And I do like this B37 is a very affordable one. Not gonna hawk a lot of stuff right here, but it can do anything. Highly recommend. So now my petticoat's done, we are moving on.
Guess what's here? I seriously think one of the best parts about these cosplay projects that I do is getting the fabric in the mail. Bertha's fabric is here. Let's unbox it together. And it's from Mood. Let's go. Gorgeous. This is the deep silk organza. Oh my gosh. Oh yay. Look at these colors. Oh. This is perfect. Oh my goodness. The outer color and then the inner lining and front gap of the dress. Oh, this is perfect. Bingo. All right, so this is the beautiful front. It does look a little bit more blue on the camera than it does in person, but absolutely gorgeous. Can't wait to start on it.
All right, we're getting now into the meat and potatoes of Bertha. I'm working off the truly Victorian patterns. The first thing I need to do was make a basic skirt over the petticoat, over the lobster claw, of the darker teal. And so, nope, it wasn't the darker teal. I lied. Or was it? I don't know. Oh, it was. Yes. I used it by draping like you saw earlier. And then I just followed the directions for the rest of it. Now this overskirt, I did kind of just buy the pattern to use for the math already done. I knew I could just drape it where it needed to fall by just pinning and tucking where I wanted once I had the pleats in at the top and the front hemmed. And so that's what it was. It literally was just a pinning and draping where I see fit, and then tried it on, put it on my dress form, and then stitched it together. Also holding it a lot of that weight up by those straps that you saw on the inside of the overskirt. That helps hold and form that back bustle where it needs to go. And once that underskirt and overskirt were finished, I now had the shape to where I could drape the top bodice. And I ended up using that truly Victorian pattern for, once again, the math already completed with the seams already done. And I just needed to change the center front to have that V shape all the way almost down to the front hem of the bodice of the silk organza that is see-through. That doesn't allow me to wear a corset with this dress, but that's okay. We just put a whole bunch of boning in the seam lines and it was just fine. So here's me marking my new seam lines, taking it in after I did the mock-up, put it on my dress form, and chopping that front part into a V and making that no longer an on the fold cut, but a two-piece cut when I cut it out of the regular fabric. Once the mock-up was complete, I went ahead and started cutting out of the main fabric and then just seamed it up. It was a really simple, easy the bodice to put together because it was just multiple panels just seamed up together. And then once it was sewn together, I threw it on my dress form to take a look at the final looks. I thought this was a great pattern choice for this bodice, and I'm looking forward to using it again for any kind of other Victorian day outfits. It was really simple. The sleeve, I did end up kind of making more of a poof top sleeve than a sleeve that lays down like the original from the show. I just like the poof. It looks nicer on my arm. But with the sleeves added and everything sewn, this is what she looked like with just the sleeves tacked on. And that the front piece ended up turning out really well and adding in a neckline. And then I moved to what I would consider the most difficult part of this build, which was the embroidery. And it shouldn't have been because I couldn't quite figure it out from the show what they did. They probably had some beautifully custom patches made, and I just was running out of time. I tried all kinds of different methods like fabric and doing satin stitching over fabric and trying to make it look textured. And I just was like, I don't know. And I have to make a bunch of these. So I couldn't really just rely on some really expensive trims that I would just couch down some way. And so I discovered yarn. This is just yarn. Yarn couched down on felt that has been hooped on an embroidery hoop, and that's it. I knew I could get a bunch of yarn at an easier price that fit my budget at the time, and I just was like, okay, we have a new couch project, everybody. Me sitting down and couch project, which is couching down yarn on the couch. That just hit me. I think these turned out really good. After a couple that I didn't end up putting, I think there's like maybe a dozen on them on her dress from the actual show. I only did about 6 or 7. I can't quite remember it right now, but they ended up looking really good. And I did a very similar method with the rest of the feather, quote unquote, pieces that are underneath these embroidery pieces on her actual dress. I just took a lot of yarn and just couched it down by hand sewing it, and also machine sewing some parts of it onto the dress instead of doing it off hoop or on a hoop. And it turned out much better than I thought. So after a lot of back and forth, trial and error, sometimes finding something simple like yarn really does work out for trim when you need it in a pinch and your wallet is tighter. So mine ended up being a little tight. And also, it had to get done quickly. And hand sewing things are not quick. But it ended up looking really good. And so I liked it with placement, and then I just kept moving forward with it. Okay, let's talk about the hat. This is the final thing that I made for Bertha, and I love the way it turned out. I'm using something called Foss Shape. Foss Shape is a felt-like thermoplastic, actually. When you heat it up with a heat gun, it forms into whatever shape that you have it pinned down to. And it's actually used in a lot of traditional hat making, especially in the theater world, which is where I got this idea from. And so I placed it on my wig head, hit it with some heat, and made it a little more firm, but I can still sew through it. And now I just draped over excess fabric from Bertha's dress over the top. And then I just started pinning things in and gluing peacock feathers to the hat. There really was no rhyme or reason, which I think is why I didn't really talk about the hat making process that much online, because I was just kind of making it up as I was going. Because there was also this weird thing. I don't know what that arch thing was, but I just took 3 sides of this Foss Shape and sewed them together and just made this triangular arch thing and ended up just sewing it down. And then I took a piece of upholstery foam and started sticking a bunch of feathers into it. Now, the main feathers of this hat are her peacock feathers, but the thing with peacock feathers is that they're really they're thin, they're not fluffy. So I needed kind of the bulk of this hat that I didn't have. So I took apart a old feather duster of mine that I never use. And those are a whole bunch of feather duster, like Amazon bought feather duster feathers. And I also did purchase these peacock feathers off of Amazon because I could not locally source them in the time frame that I needed with fit my wallet. So I was able to get these online, and I just pinned them in and glued them down a whole bunch. But actually it's all held in by hat pins, making her travelable.
This is a rad time. Look at I am a walking peacock. Like a full-fledged Victorian peacock. And I'm loving every minute of it. Oh.
Bertha turned out great, you all. I had such a blast wearing this at C2E2. I think I looked damn fine, not gonna lie. And I do feel a little kindred spirit with Carrie Coon. I don't know, my face shape and her face shape were vibing when I put this wig on. And this wig is from Wig is Fashion. It's a mid-length wig that I just curled a whole bunch and styled in the way that it's from the show. Had a blast. I love wearing bustles. I can't wait to make another one. I hope you all enjoyed this journey of Bertha Russell.